Hello, my name is Michael Lambert, and today I want to talk about a number of different topics because there's been a lot going on the last week or so in global Britain, or the sinking ship, or whatever you want to call it, and quite a few things to cover. Now, before I start, I would just like to thank everyone who was kind enough to subscribe last week. I really appreciate it very much indeed. If you haven't already subscribed and you wouldn't mind doing so, I would be very grateful. Now, you may not yet have had a chance to read Nadine Dorris's resignation letter to Sunak. It's an interesting letter, and I think it's one you can't have been too happy to receive. It contains a lot of sentiments which I think many of us would agree with, and I just thought I'd read you one or two excerpts from this letter. She was talking about him appearing before a press conference, and she said the following. She said, "You flashed your gleaming smile in your Prada shoes and Savile Row suit from behind a camera, but you just weren't listening. All they received in return were platitudes and a speech illustrating how wonderful life was in California. London is now losing its appeal as more UK-based companies seek better listing opportunities in the US. That, Prime Minister, is down to you. Since you took office a year ago, the country is run by a zombie parliament where nothing meaningful has happened. How does she know she's not been there for a year? What exactly has been done, or have you achieved? You've no mandate from the people, and the government is adrift. You have squandered the goodwill of the nation for what? You simply do not care about the environment or the natural world? What exactly is it you stand for?" Then she says, "It is a fact that there is no affection for Keir Starmer out on the doorstep. He does not have the winning X-factor qualities of Thatcher or Blair or Boris Johnson. And sadly, Prime Minister, neither do you. Your actions have left some 200 or more of my MP colleagues to face an electoral tsunami and the loss of their livelihoods because, in your impatience to become Prime Minister, you put your personal ambition above the stability of the country and our economy." Her heartthrob, Boris Johnson, he didn't put his own ambition in front of the interest of the country, did he? Oh, no. Then she finishes her letter saying, "You have abandoned the fundamental principles of conservatism. History will not judge you kindly." As I say, I think a lot of that you could agree with, actually, but it's not that good, is it? Now, I mention every week, and I'm going to mention just one more quick time, the question of food supplies, because as we expected, the government have decided to delay import controls on food coming, or anything coming from the EU, until sometime next year. So we continue the situation whereby anybody who wants to export to the EU from the UK is faced with an absolute mass of paperwork, especially with food, whereas anyone in the EU wants to export to the UK, they just drive it across on a lorry, and there's no paperwork involved. And I think it's going to get more and more difficult. I mean, there are going to be food shortages this year anyway because of the weather and failed crops and so on in Europe. And considering we get 30% of our food from Europe, I think they're going to be sending us all the rubbish, really. And I don't think there's anything we can do about it. And as I say every week, our own farming is very much weakened because of shortage of labour and all sorts of other reasons. And I think food is going to be very, very expensive this autumn. But we'll see. Now, Michael Gove, he's lifted restrictions on builders being able to pollute the rivers. Now, we're already, as we know, we're tipping all our sewage into all the water companies. Foreign-owned water companies are tipping sewage into the rivers and the sea, and now builders are going to be able to join them. So, sooner or later, they just let anybody dump anything in the rivers. Why don't we just chuck all our rubbish in there, really? And what he said when he announced it, he said that our waters are cleaner than ever. Imagine that. Fill them with sewage, now going to fill them with all this builders' stuff. And they're more clean than ever. Yesterday it was announced that 150 schools could not open because they've got this aerated concrete which is liable to collapse at any moment without any warning. Now, they've had all summer. They've had 2 months in which to discover this problem and to do something about it and to decide which schools had to be closed and which didn't, and which could be repaired before opening. But no, they announced it a matter of 3 or 4 days before schools were due to go back. So for thousands and thousands, hundreds of thousands of parents all over the country, they've now got the problem. They've got to find childminders and whatever, and all the inconvenience, and maybe their children will be back learning online again. I mean, just wonder how incompetent, how absolutely hopeless is it that they could not announce this earlier. It's just extraordinary. Everywhere you look, it's just chaos. Now, a couple of things that did come to my notice about the NHS again. You remember these Nightingale Hospitals they set up? At the time of the pandemic, they set up these hospitals, like 4,000 beds, about 7 hospitals in total, 4,000 beds, and they found out in the end they hadn't got staff anyway, so they couldn't have manned them. Even if they needed them, they didn't actually need them. But now they're selling off the beds. The reason they're selling the beds is that apparently they no longer meet NHS specifications, so they can't be used at all. These beds cost £2,500 each, 4,000 of them. And they're selling them anywhere they can. They're selling for as little as £6 each. £6 each in auction. There's a guy in America selling them for £100 each, shipped from the UK. I mean, this is just staggering, isn't it? They spent £500 million on these hospitals, and now they're just getting rid of. Somebody apparently from the Department of Health said that they were selling them £6 each in order to realise some money for the taxpayer. See, it doesn't matter. When you've got civil servants doing these sort of things, I'm sure they work very hard and very conscientious, but they really, I mean, think of the businessmen that could have got more than a few quid for these beds. And not only that, what about all these care homes that need beds? And I bet you now, all these detention centres, these prisons they're setting up for the immigrants the asylum seekers that are coming, I bet they're buying new beds. They won't be £2,500 beds, but they're buying new beds. Why couldn't they put some of them in there? And the other extraordinary thing I came across on Twitter only today, as it happens, is a question of this PPE. Now, the government put out a contract for someone to dispose of PPE, and I just want to read you what it is. It says as follows: they wanted someone to get rid of it, burn it or landfill it or whatever. And this is what it said. It is estimated that there will be 70,000 pallets. 70,000 pallets. You get about 20 pallets on one of those huge lorries, a 40-foot lorry. So it's 3,500 lorry loads of PPE to be disposed of, to be burnt. And it included gowns, eye protection, face masks, goggles, coveralls and gloves. I bet every single piece has been paid for. And it probably includes Michelle Moan's stuff, but it'll include stuff supplied by all these friends of ministers and so on who've got these huge profitable contracts who have made fortunes out of it. And we're paying to have it taken away and burnt £9,500,000. That's our money. I mean, it's just staggering. Also last week, Iain Duncan Smith said that he was in support of people who were damaging or destroying ULEZ cameras, because he doesn't really agree with ULEZ. Can you imagine this? This guy he was absolutely hopeless, but he was the leader of the Tory party in the past. A senior Tory member of Parliament saying it's okay, go and smash up these cameras. I mean, if it had been Just Stop Oil, would have been up against that. Terrible, put them all in prison. Can you imagine that? A senior Tory saying he supports people who are destroying public property. The other news is that Nadhim Zahawi, former Chancellor of the Exchequer, or very briefly, he's the guy who inadvertently forgot to pay £3,500,000 in tax. Got a lot of money. And he's going to be chairman of the Telegraph, the Daily Telegraph. I think all this business with members of Parliament having two jobs, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. I mean, how can you possibly do? It's a pretty big job being a member of Parliament if you're looking after your constituents properly. But he'll be doing, as I say, he'll be chairman of the Telegraph as a part-time job. And we've had what was termed a reshuffle. In fact, it was just really two people who were shuffled because when the vacancy became available for a Minister of or Secretary of State for Defence, who was put in, but Grant Shapps. Now he must wake up in the morning and wonder which department he works for. This is his fifth job, fifth ministry in the course of this Parliament. I mean, just again, and he's a guy. I mean, I don't know whether he knows anything about defence. I mean, he's going to have to learn pretty quickly. But he's one of these with the gift of the gab. I mean, he can answer anybody anything, bat away anything in terms of interviews, and whether he'd be any good at it, I mean, I've no idea. He's had up a big job though, just to be pushed into, and then his job has been taken over by a lady by the name of Claire Coutinho. She's replacing him, and she's another daughter of immigrants. It's a strange thing, I know I've mentioned this before, but I mean, there's something in this. This is now she'll be what the fifth member of the cabinet who's a child of an immigrant, and they're all pro-Brexit. They're all anti-immigration. In the current cabinet, we've got Sunak, Cleverly, Braverman, Badenoch, and now this new girl Coutinho. In previous cabinets, we've had Patel, Kwarteng, Raab, Javid, Sharma. Apart from Alex Sharma, they're all dead against immigration. And in the case of Braverman, as you know, she's obsessed with stopping it. And we've even got Sadiq Khan. I mean, he's the mayor of London. He's a son of of immigrants, and Hamza Yousaf is the head of the SNP. And you just wonder what it is about children of immigrants that they do so well in politics. It's quite interesting, really. Now, I did come across another story which I thought was quite interesting, and this concerns money paid to members of Parliament, in this case Labour members of Parliament. Now, for me, it just seems wrong that anybody can give money to members of Parliament. I don't think it should be possible to give any money to, maybe £5,000 or something, but you shouldn't be able to give money to members of Parliament, because the moment you give money, that member of Parliament is indebted to you. They're obliged to you. And if I were to make a video about members of Parliament, Tory members of Parliament who take money from private companies and individuals, I mean, we'd be here all night. There's so many of them. But I did find something which I thought was quite interesting about three prominent Labour members of Parliament: Yvette Cooper, Wes Streeting, and Dan Jarvis. Now, there's a company called MPM Connect, and this is a company which has a sole director. He's called Peter Hearn. Now, Peter has given Yvette Cooper, in the last year, £64,541. That's getting on towards her parliamentary salary. He's given her £210,000 towards her office expenses. He's given Wes Streeting £81,900. That's almost as much as his parliamentary salary. And you have to say, well, what's he giving it to them for? Does he want some favour? Does he want something in return? This firm that he's a director of, he didn't give the money personally. It was the company, as I said, it's called MPM Connect. Its registered office is the accountant. It has no premises, it would appear. It has no employees. It doesn't seem to do anything. But it has assets of £11 million. Now, this Peter Hearn is also... He's a director of another company called Odgers Group. And one of the other directors is Virginia Bottomley, who was a Secretary of State for Health in the previous Tory government. And the chairman of that particular company has given £200,000 to the Tories. So this Peter Hearn, he's giving loads of money to Yvette Cooper and Wes Streeting and Dan Jarvis, and at the same time he's a director of another company which has given at least £200,000 to the Tories. And what this company does is that when the government needs to find employees, sort of key people, they find them for them. They actually found this Odgers Group apparently found Dido Harding, so they did the nation a great favour there by finding her. And you can't help feeling that this guy's just sort of playing it safe. Keep giving to whatever political party looks as though they're going to be in government, and then when the contracts come around, hey presto, you're in. It's like all these people who got the PPE contracts who were Tory donors. Now I'd just like to finish with some Labour news, because we know that Keir Starmer has made it absolutely clear that under him we will never return to the EU or even seek to. There'll never be, we'll never rejoin the customs union single market, or there will never be freedom of movement again. He's going to make it work without any of that. The Labour conference back last November, they voted overwhelmingly to change to PR, to bring in PR. Starmer said no. So we will continue to be the only country in Europe, except for Belarus, who have a first-past-the-post system, an out-of-date system which generally favours the Tories. But he didn't want to change it. No, he says that's not a priority, and he's made it quite clear he's not going to repeal the Public Order Act, which is the act which gives police almost total power. Now, all these statements he makes about the EU and about PR and about the Public Order Act and so on are all meant to appeal to people in the rebel seats, the tiny shrinking minority who voted for Brexit and who voted to get Brexit done. Now Rachel Reeves wants to keep them even happier still. She's pursuing, she's made announcements which could well have come from the Tory party. She says that under Labour there'll be no tax increases, no new property tax or wealth tax or new tax on capital gains. We all know that over the past few years that the movement of money from the poor to the rich and the concentration of immense wealth in a tiny minority of really rich people has been a big problem. But they, as Rachel says, they're going to carry on with that. They don't want to upset that. They don't want to tax anybody who's got a lot of money, who's got wealthy through the pandemic, who's got wealthy for all sorts of different reasons, or who's increased their wealth because their assets have gone up, because they own property, because they own shares. No. She doesn't upset them. They've got to keep them happy because people in the rebel seats might not vote Labour if they do that. And so, as Labour, as we know, they're going to going for growth. They're going to go for the it's one of Starmer's 5 missions. He's going to make us give us the highest sustained growth in the G7, and you have to wonder where the money's going to come from. We're already poor people, or most of us, we're all poor these days, are all paying so much more for everything because of the cost of living crisis and interest rates and the people with mortgage problems and all the rest of it. I mean, where's the money going to come from for this higher sustained growth in the G7? Do you know, even the OECD, the IMF, the Institute for Financial Studies, and the Financial Times, they all reckon that we should have some form of wealth taxes, or that the wealthy should be taxed. But no, you can't say that. It might upset people in the rebel seats. I mean, this is just Labour is just talk. People keep sort of flippantly saying the Tory light, but I mean their policy is just so similar because they don't upset anybody. And then Stephen Kinnock was on. He's the shadow immigration minister, shadowing honest Bob Jenrick. He was asked about immigration the other night on Newsnight, and he said, well, what Labour are going to do? They're going to negotiate a deal with France whereby the people coming across the bits will return to France. And I just listened to this and I thought, how deluded can you be? I mean, how really ridiculous can you be? I could see Starmer turning up in the Élysée Paris and saying, "Hello, Mr. Macron. You know all these people that are hanging around in Calais and who keep coming across the channel in boats. Well, would it be all right if we just, we have a boat ready when they arrive? We put all on the boat and bring them back here and dump them back in Calais. Is it okay?" I mean, the French already take 3 times as many asylum seekers as we do. The Germans take 10 times as many. And we've got a few. We've blocked off all the legal routes, hardly any legal routes at all. So it's virtually impossible for most asylum seekers to come here on any other route than across in a boat or the back of a lorry. And we want to stop it. Makes me want to give up. Before I finish, I just want to say one last thing, and that is this, that it seems to me there are very few good politicians at the moment who would actually you'd have confidence in as a Prime Minister. I'm sticking my neck out here because I may look very foolish in time to come, but there's one politician who I think has the makings of a Prime Minister, and I suspect I wouldn't mind betting that he might well end up Prime Minister one day. And the person I'm talking about is Darren Jones. If you don't know him, he's chairman of one of the industry and select committees, and he's have a look. He's good. He's good. He's very switched on. He's very very tough. He doesn't have any nonsense when he's interviewing people before the committee. I think he's got it, and I think he's one to watch. Anyway, that's what I think. If you've watched this far, thank you very much indeed. Once again, if you haven't already subscribed, I really would appreciate it. And until next week, bye for now.